Alright, before the video starts, that should say Learning Target 5e. 5e, so sorry for any confusion.
Unit 3, Learning Target 5e, I can factor by grouping. So the things that we've looked at so far have been trinomials, which means there's 3 terms, and they've been quadratic, which means that they're squared. And if they weren't something squared, we were able to take out a greatest common factor. So in these examples, we're going to look at cubic, and they're polynomials with 4 terms. So cubic means it's going to be x to the third. Polynomials with 4 terms means there's 4 pieces. So in example 1, example 2, and 3 and 4, there's 4 pieces, there's 4 terms, and they're all something with x to the third in it. Alright, when you factor by grouping, you look at your first 2 pieces, and you say, what can I take out of just those first 2 pieces? So if I look at my numbers, both of those things can be divided by 3. Then with my variables, I've got x to the third and x squared. That means they each have at least 2 x's. So if I take out 3x squared, 15 divided by 3 is 5. We had 3 x's, we took 2 away to give us 1x. Here our x squareds cancel. 21 divided by 3 is 7. Then we look at our second piece. So if we look at 25x and plus 35, you ask again, what can I take out of those pieces? 5 goes into both of those. So we're going to take out a positive 5. 25 divided by 5 is 5, and we have an x with it. 35 divided by 5 is 7. So as you'll notice, both of these terms, now we only have 2 terms because there's only this addition sign that is separating them. So in each term, they both have a 5x plus 7. So this is where people get confused. We're going to take this factor out of each term. So if I take a 5x plus 7 out, then I would have left 3x squared from the first piece and a plus 5 from the second piece. A lot of people want to write 5x plus 7, 5x plus 7, and a 3x squared plus 5. That is not correct. If you think about it, if you take this and distribute it to the first piece and then distribute it to the second piece, you're going to get what's right above. So it's most important that these 2 pieces match. If they don't match, then you cannot factor by grouping. So let's look at another example. Greatest common factor first, 7, 28, 8, 32. Nothing goes into those. We can't take out any x's. So we look at our first 2 pieces, and we can take a 7 out of both of those things, and we can take 2 x's out of both of those things. So 7x squared. And then what we have left would be just an x in the first part and a minus 4 in the second part. If we look at our second 2 pieces, we're seeing that 8 can go into both of those. Now thinking a little bit ahead, if I take an 8 out of this first piece, that's going to give me a negative x. If I take an 8 out of the next piece, it's going to give me a positive 4. But we need it to be x minus 4. So if I take a negative 8 out, those would cancel and it would just be an x. 32 divided by negative 8 gives me a negative 4. So if you end up with the same term but the wrong sign, try to take out a negative instead of a positive. Alright, so if we put that common thing, x minus 4, out front, it leaves us with 7x squared and a minus 8. Alright, example 3. First thing I noticed is that all of these end in a 0 or a 5, which means I could take a 5 out of all of these pieces. If I divide everything in there by 5, we get 40x to the third plus 16x squared plus 15x and a plus 6. 5 just goes out front, leave it there until the end. So we look at our first two pieces, seeing we can take an 8 out of each of those things, and we've got 2 x's that we could take out of each of those. Make sure you're taking out the greatest common factor. A lot of people probably would have looked at that and said, oh, you can take out a 2, you can take out a 4. Well, 8's the greatest thing you can take out. So 8x squared goes out front. 40 divided by 8 is 5 with an extra x. 16 divided by 8 is 2, and our x's cancel. Looking at our next set, we can take a 3 from both of those things. So we put a plus 3. 15 divided by 3 is 5x, plus 6 divided by 3 is 2. So again, our pieces matched up. That's how it has to be in order to factor by grouping. If not, you can't do this method. So our 5 goes out front. Our common thing that we can take out is a 5x plus 2. If we take those pieces out, we've got 8x squared left and a plus 3. Last example. 28x to the third minus 8x squared minus 7x plus 2. First thing, greatest common factor. No numbers go into all 4 of those terms. We can't take out an x, so we go straight into factoring by grouping. Looking at that first 2 set of terms. 28 and 8. 4 will go into both of those things, and we can take out 2 x's. So 4x squared goes up front. Then we've got 7x here and a minus 2. Then looking at our next piece, it's not real obvious that you can take anything out. We need it to match that 7x minus 2. The issue is our signs are wrong right now. We've got negative 7x and a plus 2. So we need to take out a negative 1. If we take out a negative 1, it's going to leave us with 7x minus 2, just like we need it to be. If the signs were correct, we would have just taken out a positive 1, so basically we wouldn't be changing it. Alright, we take out our common thing, which is 7x minus 2. If we get rid of those pieces, we've got a 4x squared minus 1 left. Alright, and this is where we've stopped on the other ones, but this one has an extra piece to it. If you didn't realize it at first, 4x squared minus 1 is a difference, because it's subtraction, of squareds, because 4 is 2 squared and 1 is 1 squared. So we can factor this piece into 2x and 2x, 1 and 1. Remember, a difference of squares, you're going to have the same thing, but one positive, one negative. Then we can just bring down that 7x minus 2. So this one had an extra thing that you can do to get your final answer. That's all we got.